So today I'm going to do a little bit of a recap of my experience of UTS 25s this year and kind of comparing it to last year a little bit. If you haven't watched my race day video, I will link that down below and also in the corner for you to check it out and see how I did and if I actually achieved what I wanted to achieve. Last time when I did the UTS, I actually stayed there for a few days after as well, just to explore the area. But this time I actually only stayed a couple of nights at a campsite, which is the first time I actually stayed at a campsite. So I'm glad it went well. It was so clean, it was quiet, and just the whole experience was really good. So I was only there for 2 nights, just enough time for me to get there the day before to pick up my number and then do race day and then stay another night before heading home. And the campsite was only 10 minutes away from the start line, which made it really easy to get to the race on the day. And yeah, everything was very easy and kind of went really well, in my opinion. So registration for UTS this year was a lot simpler than last year. It wasn't complicated last year, but I feel like there were more things that we needed to show before we could pick up our number and our wristband. Last year we had a big tray where we had to put our shoes and waterproofs and things just to prove that we've got the mandatory kit list. Whereas this year there were kind of cardboard boxes just written on saying we needed 1 litre of water, Sahara cap, so basically the hot weather kit that we needed. So this year it was only a bit of card saying this is what you need, and it was a lot simpler. So I just had to show them those items basically, which I had. So I carried all of my kit that I had with me, hot, cold, everything, and they only needed to look at kind of 4 things, I think. So it was a lot simpler. It was quite easy. It didn't take long at all. Kind of they check your ID, they do the mandatory kit list check, and then you just go pick up your number. And this year they were giving out a t-shirt instead of a buff, which you kind of didn't really know, because the previous year I thought we'll get a t-shirt because you had to pick your t-shirt size, but we ended up getting a buff, which I don't actually mind. And this year you pick your t-shirt size again, and it was actually a t-shirt, and you can choose whether you want a technical t-shirt or a cotton t-shirt. I got the cotton t-shirt, which is the one I'm wearing. Reason being because I have so many technical t-shirts, and most of the times I don't really run in them. A lot of the times I don't train in them, especially some of them kind of have thicker material, even though they're technical and kind of moisture wicking, but they can be a little bit thick, and for me they're a little bit warm, so I generally don't really wear them that much for training and running. So I picked a cotton t-shirt, but now in hindsight I wish I had the technical t-shirt just because it's a little bit different. And the reason being, I bought this one at the expo. I wasn't planning on buying anything because I don't normally do, but because I did the UTS the previous year, even though it was a DNF, I still finished. Your name gets printed on the back, and obviously I found my name at the bottom section, which is the 25K. I saw it and thought, I'm just gonna have to get it because it's got my name at the back. So now I've got 2 cotton t-shirts. So in a way, I wish I picked the technical version, so it's just a little bit different, but I don't mind. I feel like I'm more likely to wear this around than the technical t-shirt, so that's fine. So that was the registration process, and they had the expo there as well. And the race village was very similar to last year. The start line has moved slightly from where it was last year, but the race village had kind of similar stores, similar size, and everything was kind of well organized, and it was quite obvious to see where you were going. This year wasn't as hot as last year. The temperatures were a little bit kind of cooler this year, even though it's still hot, but we still had to carry our hot weather kit, which was fine, and it kind of all worked well. And some of the things that went well was obviously I finished within the cutoff this time, and the whole reason of going back again this year because I missed the cutoff last year, so that went well. And I think having 3 soft flasks with me this year really made a difference, really helped with staying hydrated, because I got so dehydrated and I ran out of water before I got to the first checkpoint, well, the only checkpoint halfway. So this time I had 3 soft flasks, which really helped. And I made sure I ate enough, which was a mistake I learned last year. I wasn't eating enough, but this time I made sure I ate every half an hour or around half an hour, 40 minutes. I just kept topping up kind of jelly babies and pain au chocolat, and yeah, just made sure I ate and drank enough. And I think that made a very big difference this time. The other thing that I was more prepared was trying to do more hill runs. Last year, I didn't think I managed to do that much this year either, because I don't live near any hills, but I tried to do more. But I think the biggest difference was adding strength training and specifically working muscles around the knees and the quads. So there will be certain exercises that I would do at the gym to strengthen those areas around the legs. And I think that made a huge difference to climbing, and even more so coming downhill, which was a real challenge last time. So I think that went really well, and I'm glad I prepared enough for it and then actually completed it within the cutoff. It was still a very difficult and challenging race, even on race day, but I feel like because I've done it, because having done it before, I feel like I was mentally more prepared, knowing what's ahead. And when I was kind of climbing Snowdon, I know this is just the beginning and we've got a long way to go. So I kind of prepared myself very well in that regard, and remembering I'll go all the way up to Snowdon, all the way back down, and then there are other kind of bumpy bits along the way before you get to the finish, and just, yeah, mentally preparing for it, which really helped. And I think the whole experience just went as planned, and I'm really glad with the outcome. The thing that didn't go so well weren't actually that many, because I feel like the mistakes I've learned last time, I've kind of rectified them and proved to myself that if I learned from those mistakes, it would go better this year, which did. But unfortunately, I did take a little tumble down Snowdon. I had a really very nasty fall. Because the climbing of Snowdon was still slow, even though I was more prepared and trained more for it, it was still really tough. So I could only walk up Snowdon, and I felt like I was losing a lot of time climbing Snowdon. So when we finally got to the top, I thought I would run as much as I can downhill. And I think I was just trying to rush so much, and my legs were still obviously tired at that point. I just lost balance, so I fell forwards and slid, kind of coming downhill. It was really bad at the time. Well, I don't know. I didn't really feel that much pain when it happened, but when I kind of looked at my scrapes and cuts and burns and bruises, it was kind of worse than I thought it would be. But I kind of just got myself up. It was like 2 or 3 kilometers before the checkpoint. So I thought I would just keep going, keep running until we got to the checkpoint, and then maybe put some plasters on. There were loads of other runners that were very nice and said, "Oh, do you need a wipe? Do you need plaster? Do you need this?" And then they were very helpful along the way, and kind of like just checking I was okay, which was really nice. Then we got to the checkpoint. I saw a medic who kind of very kindly cleaned all my wounds. My wounds have healed now. I mean, it's nothing there, but at the time there were a lot of kind of cuts and a lot of bruises around. So the medic cleaned, kept checking if I actually hit my head or anything, or I was in any pain. So I was there for probably about 10 minutes or so. She didn't cover any of the wounds really, because it was probably better just leave it open, because covering it isn't going to do that much. So she cleaned it and sprayed it with some antiseptic, which really, really stung at the time. It was so painful, I nearly screamed. But yeah, it was all cleaned and ready to go. Filled up my water and kind of just carried on, because nothing really was hurting that much, and it wasn't a reason to stop. I had a lot of scrapes and cuts, but they were all surface wounds, so I just kind of carried on, and yeah, it was just not a reason to not carry on. So the first night with all the cuts and obviously getting the shower was very, very painful. I slept very badly, and I tried to cover my wounds for the first night when I went to sleep, and then it all got stuck the next morning to the wounds, and it was horrible peeling it all off, peeling all the bandages and plasters off, so that wasn't very pleasant. And I was fine for like the following day, but then when I got home, so probably about 2 days after finishing the race, I kind of started to feel my ribs really hurting when I inhale and exhale too kind of deeply, or when I did certain movements or certain stretches, or even just like sitting up. So anything that used muscles around my abs or stomach area, it would just really hurt. So for about 2 weeks after, I couldn't run because I would breathe in too hard or exhale too hard when I'm running, and it would just really hurt my ribs. And even just movements like opening and closing windows, and it would just really hurt. I didn't feel like I landed on my ribs, but I must have done, because that's the only thing I can think of that would hurt. So at the time I was fine. I think maybe the pain of all the wounds and bruises kind of just took over. So I didn't really feel that I landed on my ribs. I don't know, but it was about 2 days after I started feeling. And yeah, it took probably about 2 weeks before I could actually do shorter runs and build the distance back up. But it was painful for a long time, and I was worried it would go on for a long time or would take a lot longer to heal, but it wasn't too bad. So about 2 weeks, and yeah, I've been slowly building up distance, but couldn't really run as much as I wanted to. I was hoping to jump straight back into training for the 100K race to the stones, but obviously that didn't happen. But I did run the UTS 25 within the cutoff. I do want to say thank you for everyone who came up to say hello to me. I didn't really think that so many of you would kind of recognize me, and some of you didn't recognize me initially, and then once we got talking, they will kind of remember, be like, oh, you're a YouTuber, oh, I've watched your videos. And it's just so nice for you to actually come and say hello and recognize me as well. And one lady that kind of was very memorable at the start as well, she kind of said, oh, I entered them to do this race because I saw that you get a buff from my previous video talking about the race. And she said, I really want a buff, so I'm going to enter. We didn't get a buff this year, we got a t-shirt instead, but it was just so nice to talk to you. And some of you I've been talking in the comments for a while leading up to the race, and then finally meeting you there at the start line and along the way, and just watching some of you cross the finish line and just achieving that special challenging race together just felt really nice and very special. I just never kind of thought I would get that, and I honestly didn't think so many of you would even recognize me or come. Yeah, and it was just really lovely. I just want to say thank you for everyone who kind of just said hi, and yeah, your kind words. And it was just really nice to actually meet you and put a face to the name, and yeah, really enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you. So I achieved what I went out to do. I completed it within the cutoff, and I ran it 56 minutes faster than I did last time, which is huge to me. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do it, but to actually run it so much faster than I did, it just means a lot to myself, that I can prove to myself that I can do it if I did the right things and I was patient enough and did the training and just learn from mistakes. So I'm so glad that I've got that ticked off. I feel like I could have done it in less than 5 hours if I wasn't sitting with a medic for about 10 minutes. I know it needed to be done, and some things just out of your control, but I felt like I could have done it quicker, but I did it in 5 hours and 2 minutes. And I think that's a good time. The cutoff is 5.5 hours. So I'm really happy with the result. And I'm so glad that I didn't give up and I went back to do it again and to, just achieve what I wanted to achieve. Would I run it again? I feel like because I've done it twice now, and it is challenging, but I wouldn't necessarily think I would go and do it again. Also because it's quite far away for me to go there kind of and stay and plan. I wouldn't necessarily think I would do it again. I would like to do the 50K one day, but I felt like I couldn't really train for the 25K that well, and committing to a 50K would mean there will be more hurdles and more challenges along the way with training. I just don't live anywhere that kind of resembles Snowdon at all, or sort of the terrain. And I don't want to enter a race just because I want to do it, but knowing that I won't be able to commit to the training, not so much commit to the time of training, but then not have the right terrain or kind of almost tools or equipment to like kind of train for it. I don't want it to sound like it's an excuse, but I want to do it if it's kind of a mental barrier, then I feel like I will do it, because there's no excuse and no reason to think I can't do it, because I feel like I'm mentally stronger than that. But I feel like there are other factors in life, and with work and everything, I'm not sure at the moment it's something I could train for the 50K. It was hard enough doing the 25, and at the end of that I felt like I couldn't run anymore. That was all I had. So I don't know if I would be able to do the 50K. I hope so one day. I do definitely would like to, because I like a challenge, and things that others might think it's hard or they can't do, the more I want to then do it and prove to myself I can do it. So I don't think I'll necessarily go back and do the 25K, but maybe the 100K at some point, and then some other races that aren't going to be as challenging as Snowdonia. As you know, I'm going to do the Race to the Stones 100K, so it'll be other distances and other challenges I want to do first before going back to do the 25K, but I would definitely very highly recommend it if you haven't done it, or if you live closer. I feel like if I lived closer to Snowdonia, I probably would do it again, and each time trying to be quicker. And probably be able to kind of train around there a bit more as well. But I would definitely recommend doing the 25K if you haven't tried it and you just want to challenge yourself. 25K is challenging but very doable. even with someone like me who works full-time and have other things that go on with my life. And yeah, I would highly recommend the 25K. So that's my little recap of my UTS 25 experience, a little bit of a babbly waffle. And yeah, I'm just so glad I managed to take off. And yeah, I just hope this was somewhat useful. And if you are considering entering it next year, just do it. Like, it's so worth it. The views are so nice. I was very lucky that the weather was nice both years. It was so sunny, so clear. The views were amazing, warm, but it was very nice to be there. Might not always be that lucky, but I was very lucky to have very nice weather. And I would say go for it. Just do it. And what's the worst that could happen? You fall down Snowdon like I did. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. My name is Uni. I will see you very soon, and thank you very much for all your support. And yeah, bye.